response to me is the gold standard. And if we get to see the maps and so on, and if we can make those available to the public in a transparent way, then I think that's as maybe as good as we can get.
Okay. All right. Same for question number 9, but this will come under the site visit as well. Signs, fences, etc. When we go out, it's important for us to see the actual place and the configuration. All right.
Gabriella, is that something that you'd like to do between this month and next?
I'm thinking about it. I want to ask the rest of the planning board. We usually do this by agreement. What does everybody think?
Are we allowed to by the state?
I think we need to wait. I'm on the waiting. I'm on the side of waiting on that.
Well, okay. It's non-essential business. Is that what we're under?
Yeah.
Tal?
Yeah, I think I would agree with that because there's nothing essential about it.
I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Am I unmuted now?
No, but you're breaking up.
Sorry. I agree with Angus. I agree with Angus. Can you hear that?
We heard you on that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Now, typically, does the board? Sorry, Gabriella. Does the board typically? Is it like a published meeting and where you meet in a quorum, or you go in shifts at two at a time type situation? Because I think
that's the latter. We only have to have 2 people. So I'm now thinking maybe June. Hopefully by then the situation is better with the state.
I mean, if it were me, if I had my druthers, I would say each board member could spin by the site. I'm sure Tom wouldn't mind giving permission for everybody to spin by the site if they wanted to. Again, just in not only to try and expedite the process. Granted, we're not going to be doing anything as expeditiously as normal, but it might just inform a little bit of the discussion for next month, right? If some of the members have laid eyes on the site and got a feel for where things are relative to one another. Just a suggestion.
Let us get back to that, could we?
Sure.
All right. Point 11 on the questionnaire, you have a National State Register historic site. Angus, you've done some research on this, I understand.
Well, yeah, I got on with there's sort of a way of consulting with SHPO through CRIS, whatever that is, CRIS. And I started the process, but some of the questions that were going to be asked, we needed to know some of the answers to some of our questions here before I could advance further on the consultation process. So I think it's possible that I know enough now to go further through that. And just if anybody happens to have a picture of the John S. Williams house and farm, they could pass that along to me. That would help. Otherwise, I'll just go down and grab a picture.
Okay. So point number 12, Andy, we already asked for a floor plan for barn 1. So I presume that includes any changes that we're asking for, right?
Yeah, and that would be interior. Again, there hasn't been a ton of movement on the interior architecture just because obviously there's the site plan review process. Oftentimes that's the interior floor plan is more of a building code issue than a site plan issue. So, I think we could rough something out Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, that,
Yes.
that would kind of identify, just to give an order of magnitude of what the interior space would how it would configure. The exterior of the barn, no modifications there, with the exception of any potential, and I think based on the current layout, there are enough egress paths, and we would make sure that there were enough egress paths. But aside from that, maybe a light over a door as an area of refuge once you exit. But aside from that, it's going to remain wholly the same. Matt, anything to add there?
No, that's right, Andy. I mean, there really are no exterior modifications on barn one, and we can rough out a floor plan for what the intended layout is. If there were any exterior modifications, there'll be a second structure. We're not building any new structures. We're going to use another structure on the barn. There's a smaller barn kind of behind the main barn, which will be the barrel house where the barrels are stored. And that may get some new doors and some new siding. But the structure itself and the footprint and the design of the structure is going to remain as is.
Yes.
So-
So both Andy and Matt, we try to get the idea of the scale of things, and also a sort of a glimpse into the future at what it will look like once you're operational. So that's our intent here. So the more you can give us in terms of insight, the better off everybody is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that one of the beauties of the way that Matt's got the project kind of envisioned is that I don't think anybody's going to notice anything different. There will be far fewer employees serving the distillery, and I think similarly to when Tom and Nancy would have kind of come and pet the sheep days, where you had a little bit of peak in traffic. But aside from that, it was somebody coming and grabbing a wheel of cheese out of the cooler. So I think it's going to be, that's, again, I think one of the nice things about the way that the project is structured is that there'd be very little change, both aesthetically and from a traffic. But we can again enumerate what the traffic impacts will be.
Yes, it would be great. So point number 9 and point number 13 about grading and road, just give us an answer in writing. Okay, we don't need to sort it out here. These are details. So we come to the idea as to how many employees do you think you will have when you run the distillery and the tasting room?
Yeah, the current plan is that there'll be probably 4 to 6, 2 to 3 who are sort of full time, and then 2 to 3 part time. For the tasting room and things like that. But it's right now the business plan has somewhere between 4 and 6 employees. Again,
Okay.
2 full time, 2 to 3 part time.
Thank you. All right. So we come to point 16 and 17, which we actually have covered. Does the planning board have any more questions regarding that? Now we're talking about retail sales, traffic, et cetera, et cetera.
We had talked about how there's a build out on this of a couple of years. How many years before you'll have a sellable product?
Well, assuming we get through the process of approvals sometime this summer, build out would start late summer, early fall, and it's probably a year of build out. So that'd be operations starting, let's say, fall of 21, and probably we'll lay things down in barrels for 18 months before we put anything on market. We might do some limited sales in the tasting room if you want to come and try 3-month-old or 6-month-old rye in the tasting room, but we probably won't have anything of volume to sell for about 18 months out from then. So that would be about two and a half years from now.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Anyone else? All right. I think we're done with the questionnaire.
Gabrielle, can I add one more thing here?
Yep.
Um, I think it would be helpful, to the board if the applicant provided, maybe a boundary of the potential crop areas on the site plan. The areas that they're expecting to grow the product to,
Yes. Good point.
create
Yes.
the whiskey. That's my only other request here.
Yes, I was trying to find that today on the map also. Yes. Thank you. Is that possible?
Yes, that's fine. We can delineate that on the map.
Yes. So, Matt, so you understand, the planning board is really trying to integrate all of this information into a momentum so that we all move forward with synchronicity and we all work together. So we appreciate your input today, and I think we really look forward to give us all of your answers, even if they come piecemeal. In other words, don't wait until you get all your questions answered and then mail it to us. I think we will be able to take it as we go along. And I'm sure we will be much further along by May. How does that sound, everybody?
That sounds good to me. This is Angus. I just have my question would be: are there any questions about the questions that we could clarify for you rather than waiting for some future back and forth?
I think the only thing that which I think we touched on and you helped clarify, was just some of the specificity about the technical data that I think we touched on it, and more of kind of broad stroke concepts and order of magnitude is really what you're after, pertinent to the site plan.
Yes. Can we do that, Angus? Evan?
Yeah, I think we're just trying to get a sense of the scale here, and just make sure that when it comes time that those permits are in order, and what is being proposed isn't completely out of the ordinary.
I hate to say it, I'm sitting here thinking, and I think maybe one of your concerns, Andy, was that you would submit something to DEC and that would change later on, and then you'd wind up having to keep cycling back to the planning board for maybe modified approvals or whatever. And I guess I think if, by way of you not necessarily duplicating a product, you could provide for us something, if you happen to have already submitted something to DEC with a proviso that this is roughly what we're doing, and that would be maybe good enough for us as well.
Mm-hmm. And actually, it's the opposite. Believe it or not, the DEC is awfully hesitant to accept applications. I mean, they'll accept them. They don't like issuing permits until you've gone through the secret process through the lead agency and have a negative declaration, because they're the state. They don't want to have to do it twice. They'd prefer, okay, you get your site plan approval, make sure it's a viable project, then come to us. And it oftentimes creates this catch-22 where planning board, obviously, you want some assurance that wastewater speedies, water treatment systems, all those things that need to go through the state or the Corps are viable. right?
Okay.
Before you submit an approval.
Understood.
But yeah, so I think, like you
Understood.
say, we'll try and run them concurrently as best we can. But I think a contingency is inevitable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for the excellent work you have done. And well, actually, we are going to finish way before 9 o'clock. When you have good preparation, then the meeting goes easier. So any last minute requests or any issues, the correspondence will go through Erin, and we will be back to you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do appreciate the board's putting together this list. It was very helpful to actually have an outline like this versus kind of walking into a meeting blind. This was very helpful. And we'll get a response turned around as quick as we can.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
very much. I appreciate you guys meeting as well. It would have been maybe easy to punt this one. But I appreciate you making the effort and getting everybody together virtually so we could have this meeting.
Gabriella, can I have a question, please?
Absolutely.
Have we, obviously this project has some things to consider. Have we received escrow on this, and the escrow that we have, will that be sufficient for the project?
Well, we don't know at the moment. We didn't have the idea until this meeting, which is why I called it a pre-application meeting. The next point will be is to ask for an additional escrow. And the additional escrow, probably at the next meeting, we need to talk amongst ourselves as to what it will take. What kind of traffic study, what kind of engineering help we may need. I have to go back and research some previous applications as well, unless you have an idea.
Gabriella, I can put together a draft of an escrow agreement. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. Okay. I use quite often in other municipalities, and I can share it with the board, and then we can fill in the numbers as we figure it out over the next couple of weeks.
So before the next meeting.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Will that be fair enough?
Yeah, and Gabriella, I appreciate you bringing it up again. That was one question when you mentioned traffic study. I mean, it's not a typical, you're more looking for what's the traffic going to be generated from the
Right.
site, not necessarily, right, because we do have some data on the roadway, right? It's,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yes, and we can
Increase the
share
level of
that. We
service.
can share that with you, but then you have to add on as to what you're going to do.
Mhm.
And remember that most likely the study, rather the check benchmark, I should call it, in August of 19 is when the farm was already dormant. I don't think there were any animals on the farm at that point.
Yeah, and this is Angus. I think we did have a similar, I don't say similar project, another project where we did ask for some traffic information, more predictive of, you had routine, and then you had a few days where there was more, and or where you had larger events. And that's very similar to this other project, and we may be able to, it may be helpful to provide you with what they provided us, to give you a sense of what worked for that project.
That'd be excellent. That'd be great.
Okay. Thank you.
Gabriella, it's Kent. Can I say something?
Absolutely.
And I'd just like to say thank you. This has really been very interesting, very informative. And I just wanted to say good luck to you, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vance. I'm glad you're on the phone. I can't see your face. All right. Okay, so we need to get back to you on that, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
All right. Everybody else, anything else? No? All right, so then I will call for adjournment. It is now 8:15, is it?
Yes.
So
I
moved.
have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Aye.
So good night, all.
Good night, everybody. Thank